Hi, I'm Dan Kibisky, co-chair of the International Community of the Society of Professional Journalists. With me today is Zach Mullinax, who is the executive director of the World Press Institute. This is a great group that provides fellowships for non-US journalists to come to the US, learn more about our system of journalism, our system of government, our economic system, everything. And it just so happens that there's a deadline coming up for applying for these fellowships. So we thought we'd bring Zach on to talk about his program, how people can apply, and what he does with the journalists once they get here. Zach, thank you very much for being with us today. And please, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Dan, and thanks for your support and the Society of Professional Journalists and support over the years. And last year, you were instrumental in landing a couple key meetings for all of our journalists, specifically Voice of America. That was a great tour they did in DC. So thank you for that. The World Press Institute has been around for over 60 years, and we're based here in Minnesota, the heartland of America. And our flagship fellowship program brings 10 non-US journalists, working journalists, mid-career journalists to America each year to experience the people, the culture, the politics, the institutions of America. You typically follow three or four different themes throughout the fellowship. It's a 9-week program, and next program will be in the fall of 2024, coinciding with the presidential election here. So it'll be a great time to be in America, experiencing it firsthand. Now, the application, as you mentioned, is open right now. The application portal will close on February 15th. So they have a couple more weeks to get the application in. It's a pretty straightforward process, and everything is online on the worldpressinstitute.org website. Main qualification is at least 5 years of working experience as a journalist and college experience writing for your college newspaper, university newspaper does not count as one of those years. So 5 working years and as you can be an employee or a freelancer, that's fine. I will say that the program, let me back up. The program, within those 9 weeks, we spent about 4 weeks in Minnesota. We have a home base here at St. Thomas University, who's our housing partner in Minnesota. But then we hit the road for about 5 weeks. So it's be ready to live out of a suitcase and be traveling from city to city, and it's quite exhausting. So my comment about the freelance, although that is okay, and we know that the world is going to that model, we find it is difficult to be reporting stories every day for your freelance work and paying attention all day long to the activities that we're doing as well. So that's sort of the gist of the program. Maybe you have any questions, Dan?
Well, when you hit the road, we'll come back and talk about what you do with the applicants or with your fellows in the Twin Cities in a bit. But first, when you hit the road, are you meeting with journalists? Are you meeting with academic experts or business experts? And is it all as one group, or are they spread out? Can you just give us a little bit idea of what the itinerary would look like for a typical program?
Yeah, that's a key issue that I didn't touch on. Thanks for bringing that up. We do travel all together, and we last year we went to New York, DC, Miami, Austin,
Mm-hmm.
LA, San Francisco, and Chicago. And this is an experiential fellowship, unlike some of the other fellowships. There's a ton of them out there that are really training journalists. We're exposing them to the best and the brightest in the journalism world. And we go to the New York Times and we go to Washington Post and Politico and Axios and all the journalism organizations. But we also are meeting with academics and policymakers. And we went to San Quentin Prison in San Francisco. We met with farmers in Iowa. We went snowshoeing in northern Minnesota. So it's going to be a different experience than they'll get on any of these other academic fellowship programs. Last year we went to 10 different states in total. We spent the night overnight, at least one night in 13 different cities. We did 7 public forums. So there's a bunch of world affairs councils that are interested in not only us hearing from experts, but the local population and communities hearing from these international journalists as well, which is a great part of the program. We met with about 6 different schools, just youths, and talked to them about misinformation, about the career as a journalist. And over the course of those 9 weeks, we met with 150 different experts.
Wow. Okay. So,
You pack it in.
okay, so you're not just going to be teaching them about how to edit and write better, but um, really expanding their views of the world and maybe learning a little bit more about the U.S. In the process. And I'm glad, by the way, that you're working with the World Affairs Council because we've worked with them as well, and they're a wonderful organization that tries to make foreign news less foreign.
Yeah.
So it's a great connection there. In Minnesota, besides snowshoeing, uh, what do you do with the group there?
Last year we take them all over, but St. Thomas is in St. Paul, and Minneapolis is the sister city. So it's kind of one big metro area, but within that metro, as you know, George Floyd, unfortunately, is in South Minneapolis. That we visited the George Floyd Square, met with a bunch of experts on um, racial justice, police chiefs, lawyers that were involved in that in that case. We exposed them to we had an interesting meeting with, well, actually Cargill, who we met with the CEO last year of Cargill, which was great, a former CEO. We met with the heads of the Minnesota DFL and GOP party together in the same room so that the journalists could see what it's like to be two opposing parties talking in a room together. And that's always fascinating and civil conversation. Take them to the media around here, Minnesota Public Radio and Star Tribune. The Sahan Journal is a great nonprofit news organization that's doing great work that we met with their staff. So just all over the board, from media to everyday people. And I should say, the fellows are not housed by community members, but they do have host families here. So the host families will become, or hopefully become, lifelong friends for them and a connection here to Minnesota, but they will show them around the town and take them on the weekends to social activities and to theaters and to restaurants. And it's great to have that connection as well.
Okay, so I know you plan these things out a long time in advance, but you do try to take into account the requests of your fellows of areas they might be interested in. And you have a network, as you said, across the country. Is there a way, if somebody in the US, a news organization or an SPJ chapter, wants to participate by helping you out with a program in the States, is that a possibility? There's something we might be able to work on?
Yeah, I love that possibility. And if it's not a location we can get to, there's obviously the Zoom option these days, but we try to put them in the room with people face to face, and always open to ideas on programming. And just doing this over the years, I've found what works and what doesn't.
Mhm.
And so local chapters or local news organizations might have ideas that are right up our alley. And I think that in addition to journalism itself, it's about showing them America and the issues and the people. Whether it's going to a Longhorn Ranch in Austin, or like I mentioned, spending hours in San Quentin prison and learning about their media program. Um, it's we're open to not just the traditional form of a meeting. So
I think there are a handful of American journalists that could benefit from a visit to the San Quentin news organization
yeah,
as
so
well.
too.
Um, Maybe we're going to have to try and set that up with our California chapters.
Yeah.
This is great. We will put the link for the Institute on uh, our Facebook page. We'll have it with this video as well, so that people will know how to get in touch with you. And we hope that those who follow us overseas will also consider applying for a fellowship. Uh, from what I've seen, the process is not much different than what an American would go through with a different organization. So there's a lot of similarities to applying for fellowships. But I think what you're doing and what the World Press Institute is doing is a wonderful job of binding journalists together, and showing that our cultural differences are not that great, especially when it comes down to our concerns for press freedom and safety for journalists.
Yeah, and I would say that seeing is believing. For these journalists to be in the room with top editors, it is just essential. And someday, hopefully, you'll have some of the journalists and alumni on because they're experts in their country, and I admire what they do every day. But they can explain their experience almost better than I can, and maybe what it means to their career, because this is all about sort of advocating on behalf of journalists. I'm not a journalist myself, but I've always advocated on behalf of my clients. And so my job is, as I see it, is to sort of advance the career path and opportunities for anybody in our network. So
This is great. I was going to ask you if you had any last words, but that seemed to be a good excuse me, good last words for this session. Zach Mullinax, Executive Director for the World Press Institute. Thank you very much for taking time from your busy schedule and letting us know about your program.
thank you for having me.